and I am talking about my carniversary in a couple of ways. So my 25th anniversary is coming up on the 26th. I got married in 2000. I wonder how many other marriages have lasted this long, some longer, some shorter. Well, no, not longer if we were all in 2000. But coming up on my anniversary, I'm going to be celebrating my anniversary, keeping it carnivore. And then also my carniversary is coming up on March the 18th. I did March Meatness back in 2018. So it's going to be 7 years of carnivore. And I call myself actually a hyper carnivore. What is a hyper carnivore? Well, in the animal kingdom, a hyper carnivore is any kind of creature that gets more than 70% of its nutrition from animal foods. So I definitely qualify for that. And right now I am a super clean carnivore because I am doing just beef for the next 6 days until my anniversary. So this is the first time I have ever done this. Typically my carnivore diet is meat and eggs and some fish, sometimes some cheese, but for the first time I'm going to beef only. And so I'll be sharing those results with you. So this was day one on just having beef. Now I do confess I did have some coffee in the morning and I do have cream in my coffee, but other than that, just beef. And how much did I eat? Well, it turned out I had made 2 big tri-tips. That's one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and do a meat-only experiment. I had bought these big tri-tips and I think they totaled like 5 or 6 pounds together. And then I froze them together and I realized, well, when I unfroze them, I'm going to have to eat them all. So I decided that this would be the experiment I would do to use up those delicious tri-tips. And they both had a pretty substantial fat cap on them. And this is interesting. If I overeat fat on my carnivore nutrition plan, I tend to get a little bit of an upset stomach. So if I have a tri-tip that's got that big fat cap on it, I have to be really careful. So I trim some of it off. And usually I use my appetite and can tell just how much of it I can have. It's very satisfying. So I probably had only maybe 9 or 10 ounces of that tri-tip today, and only because that's as much as I wanted. I typically do natural fasting, so I don't try to do intermittent fasting. It just happens naturally. And I tend to eat 2 or 3 times a day. Interestingly enough, my biggest meal of the day is usually my first meal because I typically have eggs, then sometimes bacon, and then some kind of meat. So that tends to be my biggest meal. And then my second meal is smaller than that. And then if I need a little bit something like later in the day, I will have it. I do, I dance and I teach guitar and do a lot of physical things. So sometimes I do have something to eat later in the day just to give me that protein and fat power as I finish my day. I do want to talk about the eggs and the cost and the expense of eggs lately. We do have hens, and sadly enough, we're in California. I have a small flock of hens, and we lost 2 of them to the bird flu last summer. We lost another one to a really big hawk. Eggs they lay, and I talked to them very sweetly and I asked them nicely, and so yesterday they laid 2, so that was really good. But I can build up our egg stocks so my husband can have them because I'm not going to be eating any eggs for the next 6 days because I am doing beef only. So it'll be interesting to see what the scale says tomorrow. Not that I'm turning 61 this year, and it isn't so much about weight loss as it used to be, and it's less about losing weight and more about keeping health. And what I like to say, I like to be like stay in service, staying strong, having complete physical freedom, and not having any injuries, and out of the doctor's office. This is one of the reasons why I think for me that carnivore has saved both me and my husband a great deal of money, because we never have to go to the doctor because we are sick and we are not on any medications whatsoever. So that's really good news. I got to get my notes. All right, so other notes about what's going on with the carniversary. Oh, I also want to talk about, I get a lot of questions from women, especially women over 50, about carnivore plateaus and how to break those carnivore plateaus. And I have found that number 1, go clean carnivore. Make it as clean as you can. Make sure that you're not, maybe take the cheese out and things like that, and take out some of the dairy, and that will really help the weight to flush out. Then the other thing thing is some training does help to increase insulin sensitivity. And I sometimes think that when men and women, especially those of us over 40, 50, and 60 and beyond, we're holding on to weight even on carnivore, if we add some resistance training and some Tabata interval training, that can help to get those mitochondria fired up. And also, I think that it helps insulin sensitivity. And I think one of the keys to the reason why I lost a significant amount of weight on carnivore, even after I had been keto, is that it increased my insulin sensitivity. My husband, who is 66 now, had been lean all his life until after he turned 50, and then really started to gain weight after that. He normally was like 170 pounds, even though he was 6 feet tall all his life. So skinny guy. And then after 50, started to put the weight on and got all the way up to 220 and was hardly sleeping at all. And he was willing to go carnivore with me. And now he is back down right at 180 pounds. So he's lost 40 pounds without hunger and is keeping it off and is sticking with his carnivore lifestyle as well, which probably has something to do with the fact that we've made it to our 25th anniversary, which is coming up next week. So the Tabata training, absolutely love it. And then also weightlifting, I do a set of resistance, a straight set of just 9 exercises, alternating upper and lower body, just doing one set to failure. And it really is effective and it doesn't take very much time. So that's the other tip for breaking a carnivore plateau, Tabata training, and some resistance training. More on saving money on carnivore. Number one is when you see a deal, if you can, grab it and then put it in your freezer. So put the meat in your freezer. And with eggs, I pretty much have eggs every day, and it's nice that I have the hens that can supplement the eggs that we eat. But yeah, if I find they're getting too expensive, what I will do is I'll have canned wild salmon for breakfast instead. So I'll just forget the eggs and I'll eat more like an Asian breakfast. And so I'll have some salmon and have some beef for breakfast instead and some bacon. So if something is coming across as a carnivore, whether it's the eggs or the bacon or the beef, I will just simply substitute something else, because usually if you go into the meat department, which is what I do on a regular basis, and you look around, if one thing is high, usually something else is going to be low. Because in general, what happens is, meat is perishable. They're not necessarily freezing it. And so what happens is sometimes things don't sell, and so the price drops, or it may be something's going on in the market, whether it's with pork or chicken or beef or ground beef, and they're going to get more meat in. And so I just buy more of what's there. Pork, I do want to talk about that. It's really very affordable right now. We got some wonderful loin chops for just $2.99 a pound. And so we are working it into our meal plan. But of course, if what I was after was, super weight loss, yeah, I would be sticking to steak and eggs. Because back when I did a bikini competition years ago, I followed Vince Gironda's plan, which was his good old steak and egg diet, plus his program of weightlifting that he developed back in Studio City, California, way back into the 50s and 60s and beyond. So once again, keeping it clean. So those are my tips coming up on my carniversary. I am doing a beef only experiment, and that's why I'm going live today to share that with you. It's going great. I didn't have hardly any hunger today. When I was hungry, I just had some more beef, and I will be interested to see how I am feeling when I wake up tomorrow. So until my next report on my beef only experiment, be well, eat for yourself, and I'll see you back here on the Sugar Freedom Channel. Take care, everybody.